The pictures we have of that plane carrying about 200 American evacuees from China. That is the plane taking off from Anchorage, Alaska, where it stopped to refuel. All of the passengers have been tested for coronavirus several times. Nobody reporting any symptoms. It will land in about 3 hours' time in California to be tested again, those passengers. These are consular officials and their families and some other Americans who will be able to get on board. We know to this point, Canada is not looking at flying its citizens out of Wuhan, out of Hubei, the province around Wuhan, the epicenter of the coronavirus. We heard yesterday from the Foreign Affairs Minister that there are some 250 Canadians in the area, and about half of them have requested help to get home. Ottawa hasn't made a decision yet. All options are on the table, and it's in talks with allies as to what its next steps should be. In the meantime, there are many Canadians stuck, and we're going to meet one young man who is exactly in that situation. He went to spend the holidays with his girlfriend's family in Wuhan, and he is still, this morning, stuck there today. His name is Patterson Wu. My guest this morning, Patterson, thank you very much for being on our program today.
Thank you, Heather.
I know you're supposed to be flying home tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, in your schedule, but it looks like that's not going to happen because of what's going on in Wuhan and with this new coronavirus. You know, when did you start to get concerned, Patterson, or when did it dawn on you that, boy, you weren't going to get home as you'd planned?
Well, I guess it came as a surprise because we were still hoping to be able to get out on the 27th. But then the news came suddenly on the 23rd in the morning when the government official released the notice that they are locking down the entire city. It came as a shock, and yeah.
So, yeah, that was from Chinese officials locking down the city. Nobody could get out, no trains, no cars, no planes, and that included you. So there you are wanting to get home to Vancouver, and I know you looked for help from Canadian consular officials. Tell me who you contacted and what response you got.
So it took me a while to actually contact the embassy in Beijing. I phoned on the day of and every day afterwards, but the first day when they were off Chinese New Year holiday was on the 27th. So that's the first time I made contact with them. I left a message and they phoned back in 4 hours. They told me they did not have enough information about Wuhan to assist me, but they will reroute me to Shanghai embassy. And that's who I talked to in Shanghai, was a lady who told me she would be able to provide some information. And she asked if I spoke Mandarin. I said yes. So she gave me a link to a website on the Weixin, which is a popular Chinese social media website where they presented information about hospitals.
So I'm going to bring that up because you sent that to us. This is the link that you got from, these are Canadian consular officials in Shanghai. They sent you a link in Mandarin. At least you read that. At least you can read that. I couldn't. So you made several attempts to reach Canadian consular embassy officials, and the net help you got was this link. Is that, am I summing that up correctly, Patterson?
Yes, that was all they were able to provide. And I also asked about plans and evacuation plans, and they said there was none at the moment.
Okay. This link, by the way, tells you what local hospitals are around to help you if you should feel sick, or what information does that link provide?
The link is mostly to provide you with a list of hospitals that you should go to based on the area in Wuhan you are at.
Okay. When you got that information, little bit that it was, and when you had those other repeated attempts, what was your reaction to the degree and level of help you were receiving?
Well, I tried to phone them for many days now, but they were on holiday while we were still stuck in the city with the epidemic happening in the country. It kind of felt like finally I got something, but at the same time, it kind of felt like this is all I got, but yeah. What
would you have expected instead?
I think I would have expected like at least an official information site instead of a post to a Chinese website that the government compiled for us.
Something
because I know for a fact that, because I know for a fact that in Wuhan and anywhere in China, when you go to a hospital, you scan their personal ID cards in order to receive treatment. and they did not provide any information as to if I need that card or what should I do if I don't have the card, and then they requested. None was given about that.
So is it fair to say that you didn't get the level of help that you thought you should have in this circumstance for you in Wuhan?
Yeah, by the 27th, the number of patients with the disease was over 1,000. I think there should have been more support.
The minister said yesterday, as he talked about helping Canadians, because there are about 250 people like you registered in the Wuhan area, and about half of them would like to come home on some form of flight. All options are being considered, but not at this point looking at flying Canadians out. What do you think the Canadian government should do for you and other Canadians in this situation?
I think even if they are not able to fly us out, I think one other country was providing bus services to drive us out of Wuhan to another city for quarantine. I think something like that would also be served better than what's happening now.
Okay, so you'd be willing to go into quarantine for a period of time before coming home, if that would be required?
Yeah, I am totally fine with that, yes.
So let me ask you, number one, how are you feeling? Are you okay?
Right now, I'm feeling slightly more positive. The news coming out of the Chinese government and Chinese news outlets are becoming more and more positive, and so are Western media. So I'm trying to stay positive right now. And
your health, everything okay?
Yeah, everything. I'm perfectly fine. I don't show any symptoms. I've never had a fever while I'm here.
What have you been doing? I mean, we've seen pictures of Wuhan. It's essentially a city. There's nobody out and about. It's essentially in lockdown, and there you are at your girlfriend's parents' house. What have you been doing to pass the time?
Well, since we're all locked in here for roughly around 2 weeks now, we've just been, I bought VPN, going through YouTube, going through news outlets, watching TV. It's as much stuff as we can to pass the time while being confined inside the house.
Getting to know each other pretty well, I would imagine, on this. And what about your family here in Vancouver? I mean, how concerned are they? What are you hearing from them?
They are still very, very concerned about it. The information they're getting is very delayed. It's not always up to date, and it's not all the information. So they keep asking me for updates and see if there's any information I could give them to show that when I will be able to leave. But as of right now, I'm not able to provide that.
Understandable. They would be concerned about you, but I hope they're up early and watching, and then they'll see that you look to be in good shape as we speak this morning. You know, to conclude, Patterson, I'm just wondering if there's some sort of a message you'd like to deliver to anyone in a position of making decisions to help you and the other Canadians who are stuck like you. What would you like people here in Ottawa to know and to do?
I mean, it's very scary for everybody here who's stuck in a foreign country. Some of them who can't even speak the language. I think they should offer more support, even a plan, at least come up with a plan for evacuating people out of Wuhan.
We'll see if there's any more detail. We do know there are going to be news conferences out of Ottawa today. We'll see whether there's any announcements on those kinds of plans. Patterson, we'll stay in touch. We'll hope for the best. Stay healthy. Say hi to your family there, and we'll keep in touch with you and make sure you get home safe and sound.
Thank you, Heather.
Okay, pleasure to meet you here. Thank you. Patterson Wu, a young Canadian from Vancouver, but right now stranded in Wuhan, China.